All right, let me check the audio. Yeah. Testing, testing. Yeah. Testing, testing. All right, we sound good. So, guys, what we have tackling in this project, we have a bunch of wood laid around the shop. Let me close that link. Close that. Currently, what we have going on, we have a bunch of ash laid all around the shop. I have 10 interior doors. They're going to be 5 panel doors that we're building. And I already have a generalized cut list. So all these are broken down for the styles. Those are cut 84 inches. Most of the doors are going to be about 78. These are going to be most of my rails. So I actually need to cut all these to a rough length before I go through the jointer and planer, just to make it a little bit easier on myself. So what we're about to do now is actually break down most of this material on the miter saw. And what I need to do actually is take a look at my cut list, which is over on the door back here. So I might actually need to slide my jointer out the way, or my planer out the way, and take a look. I need 35 pieces at 26, 10 pieces at 25, and 5 pieces at 16 to make up all my rails. So what I'm probably going to do is actually set up a stop block here on the miter saw and start batching out all of my rails. So I do need a bunch of 26s. And actually, with me needing a bunch of pieces at 26, I think most of these boards are 9 footers. These are all 9. So I'm only going to get 4 pieces out of each one of these. Except for, I think I do need a couple 16s. So what I'll probably do is just set up a stop block at 26 over on this side. So I'll pull the measurement on the board. Can the camera see the stop block? You see the whole miter saw. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is set up a stop block at 26. So by marking that piece at 26 inches, I'm gonna slide it on the saw till it gets where I want it to, which is right there. And then I have a flip stop over here on the edge of the miter saw. Actually, zoom you guys in just a little bit. Hey, how you doing? We're currently building a bunch of doors. I have 10 interior doors I need to build and a lot of lumber to mill up. I currently gotten through the process of breaking down most of the material for the styles. The styles are going to be 4 3/4 inches wide. So it's 10 doors. There's 20 styles sitting over there. And I have a bunch of rails with 20 rails, about 28 inches, give or take. So that's 20 of the 35 that I need. I have a cut list on the back side of my shop door and marker kind of telling me everything I need to cut. So I need over here, I need 30 at 26, 5 at 26, 10 at 25, and then 5 at 16. So what I'm going to do is set up a stop block at 26 here on the miter saw. And what I want to do is I have a flip stop on the miter saw. So I can just bring it right up to the material and then lock that down. And then I can make repeatable cuts at 26. So what I'm about to do is actually batch out a bunch of pieces. And I might just go 52. I think 52 is still small enough for me to run through the joinery and planer without too much of an issue. And I don't have to cut so many small pieces. So let's set up the stop block and get to cutting. And yeah, I'm thinking 52 is probably what I'm going to set the stop block to. Instead of 26, because I don't need a bunch of small pieces all around the shop. I'm trying to, again, make this a little bit easier on myself. So my shop is a little bit full with all the material I have in here. And then my table saw today stopped running. Don't know why, but I have my battery powered flex saw actually mounted on my bench. And that's what I'm going to use to actually rip down some of this stuff. A lot of these boards are over 6 inches, so they won't fit through my jointer. So with the pencil mark at 56, I'm going to actually move my stop block over to the extension wing. So that's probably what I'm going to need to do. And then I'm going to loosen up the extension wings, and the miter saw wing itself actually slides in and out. I'm going to line it up with my pencil mark. And then I'm going to slide the wing in to where it just meets. Lock down the stop block. And then I can lock down the wings themselves, which gives me the repeatable stop block. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining in. Let me grab my headset and we're going to get to cutting. Actually, what I'm gonna do is anything that's a 9-footer, I might as well just cut that in half, because 26 is 52. What is 9? I think 9 is like 109. So I'm gonna cut these to 54 because I'm not gonna be able to get a fifth piece out of these. I think my bottom rail overall needs to be about like 21 inches for the door. I can actually, let me get back at the cut list. So that's one thing I haven't really decided what I'm actually going to rough all these pieces out to. And again, I have a lot of offcuts because again, I'm starting with 9 and 10 foot material. So when I was breaking those down, I have I think I have 20 total pieces that are, how long are these? All right, this one right here is 26. I think the shorter ones are like 25. That was like 24. So I can actually get any one of my styles and rails out of those. And I should have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And then there's a 2x12 over there that's getting ripped in half. So actually I do have 20 of my overall rails. The bottom rail is going to be made out of, the bottom rail is going to be about 9 1/4 wide. So I do have some 11 inch wide and 10 inch wide boards here. I'm only going to need 10 bottom rails. So I'll be able to get both of those or all the bottom rails out of these 2 boards here. So what I'm thinking is I need a total of, 35 plus 10. It'll be the blue writing over there. Camera probably isn't really clear. I need 30 at 26, 5 at 26. That's 35 plus 10, that's 45. And then 5 at 16. And again, those are rough numbers in that column right there. Kind of broke it down. Those are the rough dimensions I wanted to break everything down to. And these are the actual dimensions for my styles and rails. So like they actually need to be like 21 and a half. I'm going like 26 to allow me to, take care of planer snipe, etc. So what I'm going to do is actually cut 45 pieces at 26. But since I'm going to be cutting them to 52, I don't think I need to account for so much planar snipe. I might be able to get away with if I did 24 and 24, which is 48, which will only leave me a foot, which still wouldn't. So I'm just gonna cut them in half. I think, yeah, 52 is gonna be fine. That's what we're gonna do. Hey, how you doing? I'm doing all right. No real complaints. Short of being a little bit tired and having a bunch of wood that needs to get milled up. And something happened today. I don't really know how or why. But my main table saw, she started, the breaker tripped about 2 or 3 times. So I'm debating on if either the motor had got overheated or if I actually burnt up the end of the cord. So I probably need to replace that. Thank God I do have a second table saw, which is my flex table saw. It's using my Palk style cradle. So it's actually able to hang off of any one of my workbenches. This is my job site one. So, and I actually tested it. This one has the capability to actually make all the rips I need. You don't have people to help you, to be honest. I have people that help out occasionally. I have like my cousins and my nephews and whatnot. But on this project, I didn't really quite. Plus, when it comes to like woodworking stuff, I don't really have anybody who actually has skills to actually help me out in the shop. And the shop isn't as big as I want it to be, so I can really have multiple helpers kind of in here doing stuff. You know, I have my recliners over there, which is fine for family and everything else when we hang out. But when I'm in here like doing stuff, there's not quite enough room to do a lot of moving around, let alone trust anybody else to touch the saws and stuff. So it's normally just me when it comes to shop work. Whenever I get to the job site, I'll bring one of my nephews or helpers to kind of come and give a hand. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'm not. I'm straight. But thanks for watching, though, boss man. Greatly appreciate it. But yeah, so what we're about to do now is start breaking down all the rails. I need, again, a total of 45. I have 20. And each one of these, if I cut them to 52, will give me 2. So that was 2. That was 2. So I now have 24 pieces. Math. You gotta remember and keep track. Again, each one of these will give me 2 rails. Get into the camera. Yeah, each one of these will give me 2 rails because these are at 52. So we now have 24 rails. This next one will put me at 28, and we'll keep going until we have 45. And then I'll start ripping everything down small enough to go on the jointer. We'll joint plane some of this. Some of the longer boards for the styles, those actually need to get. I like bomb stuff. I'm not really sure what you're talking about. Train of thought. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and cut this down, and then we're gonna get to jointing and planing. Some of the styles and rails are like 84 inches, so they're a little bit too long for my joiner. So I'm going to set up a planer slate and go through all that material. That'll probably be tomorrow. So my goal is to get all these pieces that are just laying around the shop kind of broken down to smaller pieces so I can go into the actual milling process. I might joint some of it tonight. We might get into a little bit of planning for all the shorter pieces. I'm debating if I actually want to get into like resawing some of these because, again, we're building interior doors. That glare is annoying. We're building interior. There we go. Let me just move my hand. Does it stop? We're doing interior doors, so they only need to be about 1 3/8 inches. These are all 8/4 material, so I'm going to be losing about 1/2 inch of material on each one of these boards, kind of just going to sawdust. So I would like to be able to resaw them, but considering that my main saw just kicked the bucket for the day or forever, don't really know yet. Probably not. Running right up to my stop block. Oh, on my side, I just tripped the breaker. That's actually a first. Again, that's probably because it's paired with the dust collector. I'll put this at 28 rails. This one would be 32. I will say, it's my first time working with Ash. What the fuck's going on in the chat? Hey. You guys calm down over there. Everybody be friendly. We're just here for some woodworking tonight. All right. Let's see. That was 28. This will be 32. We use biscuits or dowser. For this project, it's actually going to be a coping stick joint. I'm going to be using, where's the router bit set? I'm going to be using the Freud router bit set for this doors. It's going to be a styling rail kit. I think it's got like a 1/2-inch tenon. I'm very well might dowel the doors strictly because there's not a full tenon in them. So like a 1/2-inch, I think, long tenon. So I probably would be throwing dowels in through the side, and that would be, again, once we get the doors put together. The panels are going to be, I think they're 3/4. So I have a bunch of 3/4 inch material that I do need to glue up, and I probably will not use biscuits or dowels. I'm thinking about cutting in splines. Whenever I do door panels, I love to actually dado in a spline into the door in case the glue up ever cracks. That way you're not able to see all the way through the panel. So we probably won't do biscuits and dowels. Definitely not this live stream. The goal today is, again, to get this stack of wood kind of more organized and broke down, so tomorrow I can really go through the milling process, kind of sort through everything. And then what I really need to do is figure out what happened to my table saw, because I actually recently just put my table saw inside of a cabinet, built extension wings on the side, wrapped it in walnut, and then I put a new router table and router lift into this side of the extension. And I don't know what happened, but today while I was trying to resaw some of these boards, I am getting nothing. Don't know why. I think possibly the end, if it will focus, it won't a little bit. Focus. There's a few sparks on the end. So I think, again, from the breaker tripping, that kind of ruined my plug. So I might cut this off and grab a new plug for it. It won't focus for me. But yeah, so I'm thinking about cutting that off and just grabbing a new plug. Haven't really decided yet. But yeah, again, luckily I do have my Flex battery powered table saw. It's currently inside of my Hawk style cradle. So this cradle just removes and hangs on any one of my benches inside the shop. But it gives me the full functionality of my job site table saw with the outfeed that is nice to have whenever you're running the table saw. And she has plenty of power to actually rip this 8/4 material. So this is what I'm going to be using until I figure out what's going on with my main saw. But again, until we get there, the goal is to get all this wood stacked behind me, broken down, smaller pieces, separated, and organized so I can actually get through the milling process. And yeah, she's plugged in. I don't really know what happened. Well, I do. Again, I was ripping the piece, trying to get it down to under 6 inches. And either my blade was really dull or something. But again, it kept tripping the breaker. And I'm assuming That's what caused the damage to the ends of the plug. That could be the issue. The motor could have overheated. I think the Delta saw does have a run start capacitor that people do end up having to replace occasionally. So could be that. I'm not really a electrician or I'm not too mechanically inclined. Really good at wood stuff. That I really don't know. And I lost my train of thought. Let's see. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we have 30 pieces. So this will do 34, 38, 42, 46, 42, 46. So I need to do one more of those boards. All right, that's what I should have done. Separated everything ahead of time, so that way I'm not trying to keep count. I just know I got to cut all these boards in half, and that'll be fine. And then I'm going to double check my math. And see, this was a 10-footer, so actually I think I can get 5 out of this one. Sorry, new here. We're working for a bit. What are we building? We're currently building interior doors. I have 10 to do for a client. And they're making them all out of ash. Dry age, going on 9 years. See, that's a pretty cool project. If I knew how to work with a chainsaw, I do have some cedar stumps in my backyard. If I had any chainsaw skills, I'll definitely be trying to mess with some of that. Yeah, and then mines are not dry. These are like cedar logs that I've had for probably about only a year. And they're like, 18, 20-inch round logs. So I'm pretty sure they're still full of water. And yeah, I've never touched a chainsaw. Never been a skill. Never been a saw that I've touched. One, slightly scared of them since 15 playing with. Yeah, you have the skills that I don't. But yeah, we're currently doing doors. We have. Let's see if I can get my hand in the camera. That whole stack back there, all those long boards are cut to about 84 inches for my styles. All those shorter pieces are the offcuts, but those are going to make up rails. And we're currently breaking down more rails. We're breaking all these boards down to about 52 inches, which will give me 2 rails a piece. 37 now. Yeah, you start to see. I'm 31. Been doing this this is actually my dad's garage that I converted into my shop. So I've been in construction or carpentry, I guess, my whole life, but mainly cars. I was forced to do cars when I was younger. Don't like cars too much, and now I realize that I hate cars, and I'm a carpenter by heart. So try to do mainly woodworking things. Try to stay away from anything automotive, and that's where I messed up. This board was still sitting over here, so it's not 30. This is 32. Gotta keep my train of thought going together. But so yeah, what we're doing right now is cutting up all these boards to give me enough material to get my rails. I have a cut list on the back side of my door over there. I roughly need 45, 30, 26-inch pieces. So I'm cutting these to 52. So when I actually run through and plane everything else, actually I need my pieces are like 21 inches. So I'm going 26 to make sure I have enough room to deal with snipe or whatever else. But instead of going having a bunch of 26-inch pieces, I'm going to have a bunch of 52s, which will be easier to mill and kind of manipulate versus, again, a really long board or a bunch of really short pieces. Let's see. So let's count this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 12, which puts me at 32. This is a 10-footer though. I think I can get 5 if I did 26. No, I can't. If I did 24, I can get 5. I do have, there's 5 doors that I need that are 16 inches. So I might say this 10-footer for that. So actually I might, because I need 5 16-footers because one of the doors are like 18 inches. I mean, not 16-footers, but 16-inch pieces. So if I move this off, it's 32, 36, 40, 44. And then I'll bring this one back over here to cut one 26 piece. And then I'll do 16s with the rest of this, which will leave me with 3 extra boards, which isn't really a lot of extra material, especially like for test cuts and everything else, but I'll kind of figure all that out. I'm gonna sit back and enjoy the craftsmanship. Again, this part of the project won't be too much craftsmanship, really just breaking down a lot of really heavy material Trying to make it light enough to where, I'm not breaking a sweat moving around the shop or through my tools. I will say this is my first time working with ash. Typically for interior doors, most clients just want poplar because it's lightweight. It's the cheapest hardwood that you can build a door out of. But this client wanted each one of his interior doors to have a little bit of heft to it whenever he closes them. So yes, every step definitely does count. It's just this is not the fun one. I think the beads of sweat on my forehead are telling you guys that. So, I just got a text message. Let me check that, and then I'm going to get back to it. All right. So yeah, break down the rest of these. That's 32 plus 4, 8, 12, which is 44. So yeah, let me cut all these. Ugh. Ash is pretty hard on the tools. I'm not mistaken, circling one of the harder woods. Yeah, it definitely is one of the harder ones. Whenever I use a hardwood that's light, it's typically oak or maple. In my line of work, like cabinets. So this is my first time dealing with ash. Definitely heavy as shit though. And yeah, the Makita miter saw is probably the best miter saw out there on the market next to the Festool. But I personally hate the Festool handle. But the Festool does have better dust collection. But the Festool is not a 12-inch saw. Festool is only a 10-inch. So for stair treads and anything else, this Makita miter saw is definitely my favorite. Oh. One thing I can say though is I still have not changed the blade on that saw since I got it probably about 2-3 months ago, give or take. So I definitely need to get a new blade for the miter saw. I think that's why my table saw was tripping when I was cutting when I was ripping everything, because the blade is dull. Because on my job site table saw, that's only an 8 1/4 battery power saw, and I was able to make the rips. But the large table saw was having issues. Pretty sure because of blade. But I will find out tomorrow. Probably delve into why the saw is starting. And worst case scenario, I could do this whole project with a battery power saw if I had to. That puts me at 44. So what I need now, yeah, I think this, let's see, I feel like the restaurant. I've never dealt with honey locust. I wonder what that. I haven't even took. I wonder what that even looks like. That sounds like a beautiful piece of wood. I have a bunch of walnut though laying around the shop. Uh, and yeah, about the setup. Been in here kind of transforming the shop into what it is for a little bit. So if you're new to the channel, I think I'll give you a quick little tour. Essentially up front, we have two portable park style benches, but I did add, can't see from this side, but there's a jack underneath both of these benches. That one over there too. So the heights actually raise up and down. I can pretty much make them match any one of my tools for in feed or out feed, be my drill press or bandsaw. This is a Ron Park style cradle. Essentially, it just bench dogs into, again, any one of my benches. This is what I use on the job site, so I can actually have in feed and out feed for my table saw. And currently, because my main saw is down, this is going to be what I do most of this work in here with. Then I have my larger out feed and assembly table, drawers and everything else underneath of it, cubby storage so I can keep the bench top clear. Then I have my main table saw, which again is a Delta 7030T something. Can't remember the model number. Again, I've had this one for probably about 2.5, 3 years. But again, she's not doing anything for me right now. So she needs some love. I have a beautiful hand tool bench over there covered with a bunch of scraps. My dust collector's in the back. My jointer is normally actually behind my doors. These are doors, by the way. I actually have French cleats holding up a bunch of my clamps on both of the doors. I put a marker board on the front side of the doors and various French cleat storage on the front side. You know, pencils, markers, screwdrivers, paper towels, etc. And then these are custom drawer cabinets, essentially upper cabinets that are drawers. Except I built them using wooden full extension drawer slides. That way I can get access to the full depth of the cabinet. And I didn't want to buy hardware. So all of those have full extension wooden drawer slides. And then for the miter saw, I added expandable wings to increase my cut capacity whenever I'm out here. Oh, then I have a bathroom. Didn't mean to show that. But yeah, that's pretty much most of the shop. The setup in here I think is pretty awesome. Again, I am a little disheartened by the fact that my table saw just died on me. It's hardwood, gorgeous, very orange color. See, the only thing, I never seen anything orange. Osage orange is like that one's pretty cool if you never used that one. I think that might be the hardest wood I've ever used. Osage orange. It's a really yellow colored wood, but it's super dense. I did a door with a bunch of live edge casing around the outside of it. Every screw, every nail, that thing was a pain in the ass. It was too cold. I do have a fairly large heater in here. Don't need it anymore. Currently, I'm in VA, so we are just now sitting at like 67, 80 degrees kind of consistently, so it's perfect out here for me to actually get out here and get to work. But I think we're having like a tornado right now. Not sure if it's picking up in the camera. My tents in the backyard are rattling all around. And yeah, I don't know if the camera's picking up the noise, but yeah, my tents, I'm worried they're going to blow away outside right now, actually. Hopefully they don't. Hopefully we're good. All right. Now I need one more 26. I probably should cut maybe two. Actually, I should just cut another 52. And that other 26 will end up being pretty much test piece. Excuse me, for test pieces. And then I can go ahead and start doing the 16s. So I need 15 of those. 15 times 16. 5 times 16 is 50, 30, 80 inches. So if I dedicate 80 inches of this board, this is a 10 footer. Then 26, that's 106. Okay, yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up this shot block for Illinois. I've never been. But that's like... And it's still cold for you guys? I figured it will actually have it colder than you guys will just because I'm by the coast. See, I don't know enough about geography, but I definitely figured you guys would, again, not have it as bad as we do. 'Cause right here by the coast, we'll get all the rain, the wind right off the water. And Cause I'm like right here in the 757 area, so the cold weather off the beach is kind of like a regular thing for us. Oops, scrap piece of wood, move that out of the way. And I'm gonna cut this to 26. And then we'll do a bunch of 16s after that. Let me extend the miter saw out just a little bit more. I'm in Pennsylvania. Damn it, I missed it. Yes, I definitely love the Makita saw. We had crazy weather. Other day was 60s. And yeah, we have tornado weather right now. There's a tornado warning outside, like right now. I have 3 tents that I actually have anchored into my concrete slab, and I can hear them shaking pretty fiercely outside. And that's actually where all the rest of my hardwood is kind of stored at. My lawnmower and everything else is out there. Hoping, I don't walk outside tomorrow and my tent's like blown into my neighbor's yard. I don't even want to open the back garage door. Actually, I hear it though. It's definitely a little rough outside. And yeah. I didn't even know it was a tornado warning though until like halfway through the day. I went and looked at like 2, 3 jobs this morning, and then by the second one, I'm getting hit with like hail on my windshield. It's gotten dark. It's windy as hell, and that's a huge blade. It's just a 12-inch blade. Pretty standard for a miter saw. 10 or 12s. But for the shop, I recommend always having a 12. I thought it was a chop saw. It is a chop saw. I actually recently fixed my radial arm saw back here in the back, though. I finally got this baby fixed. Oh, pointing wrong place. I had to add a new switch to it. But now that this thing is running, I'm planning to build a new cart and everything else for this and route dust collection to it. That's something I'm definitely getting excited to use. Looks way bigger. No, it's a standard 12. I will say what the Makita does, which is pretty cool. Let's see if I'm close enough. Might have to get closer. They do this on this side of the blade. On the other side, just where the motor and the rails are. So it's not as cut out. But over here on this side, there's this large cutout section right there to give you the maximum depth of cut for crown molding and stuff like that. So probably why the blade looks so big, maybe. Don't know. Most saws, again, they have this piece that runs straight across here. So you don't get that extra little bit of cut capacity right there. And I have a Ryobi as well. Inside of my box truck, I run a 10-inch Ryobi battery saw. That is my daily driver on the job site. This 12-inch Makita is my shop saw. And I can pull it out whenever I need to take it to the job site for like stair work. So only time I really bring it to the job site, because when I'm cutting scrape boards and everything else, I'd rather have a 12-inch saw. And yeah, I think the Makita makes the best saw. And yes, it's a dual bevel. The Makita's bevel function works by twisting this knob right here. You twist the knob, and then there's a bypass button right here on the side. So you can bevel it either direction. I like it because, again, some saws you have to actually reach all the way around to the back. The button's like right here on the side. So it's a little easier to get to. And again, the 4 rails allowed me to collapse this cart and push it all the way up against the wall. So definitely one of the best saws, I think. Festool, if you guys want to spend that extra money, probably be the next best bet, but I wouldn't go that far. I feel like I'm missing. I need somebody else here to just read chats. I feel like I'm actually missing a lot. Don't show off that Ryobi. Hey, I love my Ryobi saw. I'm not gonna lie. My first set of tools were Ryobi. I still have Ryobi drills from when I first started construction like 10, 11 years ago. And they still run fine. Most of them are in my shop, but my Ryobi tools, again, partially because that's where I started. I have no hard feelings against them. Yeah, this is superior. I definitely think it is too. The Makita saw, the engineering that went into it definitely is what puts it over the top, versus like DeWalt or Milwaukee. Again, Festool is the only one that I think competes with it. I'm going to get Makita. Damn, I missed that one. For repairs. DeWalt saw is, again, when it comes to DeWalt, I think they make great tools. They're like baseline good tools. They're better than the Ryobi's, the Ridgets, and everything else. But what DeWalt typically lacks is like the fine tuning that the nicer saws have. Like when it comes to the track saw, the DeWalt track saw has a terrible plunge feature on it. You have to like go forward and down at an angle versus just a standard plunge feature, so it feels weird on your wrist. And the blade has more deflection than the other saws. Makita just again the forward rail system, the dust collection, the cut capacity, everything else on the saw is just overall great. Let's see, I'm on another page. Just giving you flack. Mine burned out. And yes, I will not lie. My Ryobi saw, I have been through two. Those did not last as long. But again, I think when I got it, it was like $179. And for $179 for a 10-inch miter saw for like my job site baseboard crown molding, I can just grab it one handed and kind of sling it around if I wanted to. That is what I love about it. This saw is heavy as fuck. I actually hate moving this saw around when I do have to. So again, the Ryobi is the lightweight, cheap version. I do plan to actually get the Flex 12-inch miter saw for the job site, so I don't need to pull this one out. But again, I can't just go buy tools whenever I want. Not yet. Maybe when the YouTube takes off and I get my first sponsorship, I am looking forward to it. Somebody just dropping like $1,000 in tools on me. All right, so yeah, we're going to cut this one to 26, and then we need a bunch of 16s. Well, not a bunch of 16s, but 5 16-inch pieces. Inside of this saw, I am running, I think it's an 80 tooth. This is this one that came with the miter saw. Again, I'm pretty bad at replacing blades. Probably should do better. Will do better. I will do better. But yeah, this right now definitely needs a new blade. I know my table saw needs a new blade. So I gotta work on that. I'm pretty bad at being responsible and changing blades. I'll run them until they don't cut anymore. You guys should not do that. Don't follow my example in that respect. Definitely keep sharp blades. Sharp blades make for safe work and accurate work. And actually, what I'm going to do for the 16s, I'm going to cut them to 32 because I don't need a bunch of short pieces hanging around the shop. And that way, I don't need a story pole to cut a small piece. And 32. Bring the stop block over from the extension wing. There we go. So I'll switch to 122. And yeah, if I'm doing like crown molding or anything else, 120 is fine. This miter saw inside of my shop really is just for breaking down rough material, really. Let's see, did I miss anything else? Get to work. That's funny. Should I write everything else? One piece of 32. For rough cuts, if it's a slab, I go circular saw. If it's a board and it can be cut on the miter saw, I go miter saw and just cut it long. That's why I'm cutting everything right now. Like I think my overall actual dimensions are like 21. One of them is like 20 and 3/4. One is like 19. I'm just going 26, just so I know that I'm not gonna get any snipe or anything else as I go through the milling process. So the miter saw does fine enough as long as your boards aren't like super cupped. If they're really cupped or bowed, jigsaw or circular saw would get it done. But the place I get it from, for the most part, like, this side is already plain. This is already smooth lumber. So for the most part, I can go straight to my miter saw and rough everything out. And if I can't, then I go to a circular saw. And actually, what I probably should do before I go too much further is go ahead and cut the pieces for my bottom rails. Those need to be 9 1/4, and I do have 2 boards over here that will work just fine for that. And that would actually eliminate most of the stack. I can put these 2 boards up on one of these cabinets to get them out the way. And I guess the other question is, am I going to get into my panels, which I could break all those down to shorter pieces, but I think what I want to do is get everything I need to actually put the doors together, broken down, small enough to actually fit on my joiner. So I'm going to have to run them through the table saw to get them down to 6 inches. So probably just miter saw, table saw today. And I might do a little bit of jointing with some of these smaller pieces. And I really need to figure out what's going on with my big table saw, though, because that is bothering me just a little bit. But on to these wider pieces. Oh, these are going to be heavy as shit. Also, I'm not sure how old everybody else is inside the chat, but if you don't have to lift stuff, I can from all the way on this end and kind of torque my back out, but you can also just slide it back enough to where you can pivot it. Try not to lift stuff if you don't have to. That's all I'm saying. And for sure, did the saw trip or the box? I already checked the circuit breaker. The breaker's on. That plug still has power, and the switch itself has like a see, old enough to be a dad watching this at night. All right, yeah. So you probably understood what I'm saying. If you ain't gotta lift nothing, don't lift it. That's why these bigger boards that I'm hauling all the way to the back. Typically, if my camera wasn't in the way, I would actually just slide it. That's why all the benches in my shop are the same height. I'll slide stuff from one bench to the other, get it to the table saw, slide it to the miter saw without having to lift anything. Those guys. See, I don't know enough about the motor because I think there is a run stop capacitor that I've seen on YouTube. People say does go bad, and I've had this issue before to where it stopped working for a little bit. Use Dolly's electric. What's that? Dollies, etc. Oh, dollies to get stuff around, but you still don't want the motor. And yes, that's one thing. Yeah, I'm at 31, and I'm just now trying to set up the shop to be as efficient as possible. Because if I ain't gotta lift it, don't want to. So I'll try to slide stuff from point A to point B. Also, all of my benches now are the exact same height, so I can pull it from one bench onto this one and just swing it to the miter saw. But again, my camera's here, so I'm having to do the young man lift. But it said it has a run stop capacitor, and like it had stopped working for a period of time before. I left it alone for a day, and it started working again. I assume it just got hot. But considering that the end of the cord actually has like little burn marks and stuff on it, I'm assuming that got burnt out and it just needs to be cut and switched to a new plug. Hopefully. Half size building charcuterie boards. Yeah, that's another thing I do. I do need to build pull more cutting boards. I do have some clients that I do need to build some for, and I actually have a fair that I signed up for on like March the 25th, I think, and I do need some products to kind of go out there and sell. So hopefully I finish these doors soon enough to where I can turn a lot of the scraps into cutting boards and serving trays and stuff. All right, let's get these really heavy boards over here to the saw. Let me see how many of those I needed. For the bottom rail, I need 6, 7, 8. I really can cut a 52, and then okay. Wait a minute. I can cut 3 52s. We should take care of those 6. Let's see if I do 3 52s. Same. Oh, so you're lucky. I wish I had somebody that was going to the farmer's market for me. I have to go set up down there. This will be my first one though, so I'll see how good or bad it is. I typically again give stuff directly to clients because I am a general contractor. So like if I do a deck or a kitchen remodel, I typically give the client something that I made just to let them know that I also do custom work. Hey, I might have done your kitchen, but maybe you want a dining room table later. It's kind of the methodology that I use. But I decided to try a few more markets like that just so I can see if I can pump some of my smalls through there. And let's see, that's 9 foot. So if I do that, that's 4. And then I'll get 2 on the other one. Let's see, 4, then 2. We should take care of all of those. And then I have a 26 and 2 25s, which would be the next 52-inch piece. So I'm actually going to have to do a glue up for one of them. That's all right. Here's the tip. Don't have your own stand, too pricey. See, I'm actually lucky. I got reached out to this one through Facebook. It's actually a free one. I don't actually have to pay to set up a vendor stand. And again, I saw a bunch of other ones where yeah, you do gotta pay. So I was thinking about that, and that kind of was what helped me off from doing it. But then somebody else saw my Facebook stuff, and they say, "Hey, we having a fair. Come out and set up a table." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And again, that was like a month ago, so I kind of wrote it off like, "Oh, I got plenty of time." And now here I am with nothing built to display. So I do need to get on that before it's too late. I think it's at the 22nd, and today is the 16th. So I kind of got some time. And let's see. What I'm trying to think is I'm going to have to do a glue up for one of the bottom rails because I do not have enough 9-inch wide pieces. That's not a problem. I'm trying to think of how I can do it because I need 10 pieces of that are going to be 9 1/4 because it's 10 9-inch. 10 doors. This one's a 10-footer, so I can get 4 and then one of the 16-inch pieces I think out of this. So 26 and 26 is 52. That's 104, which would leave 16 inches. So this one would do 4 of the longer ones and that one short one. I think there's only one for that short door. All right. That's like 116. And then I'll still need 2, 4. Yeah, I'll need one more piece at like 26 inches. Which I do have this piece, which I was gonna rip in half. So I did have one piece that was at 2x12, so I was gonna use that for my styles, rip it in half to make it 4 3/4. And I have that over there, and this was gonna be one of them, but I think I actually cut an extra style. So what I'll probably do is make this that last rail, the last bottom rail, instead of having to do a glue up. Ideally, none of my styles and rails will have glue ups. Do you have a sketch of what you're building so we can have a reference? Yes, I do. It's not a pretty sketch, but please don't don't judge. I'm currently doing a 5-panel door, and when I put it on my marker board, I did color code it to make it a little easier for myself. The styles are green, the bottom rail is red, and then the rest of the mid rails are blue. And I actually have the measurements color coded to make it a little bit easier on myself. Also, if you weren't here earlier, this is the door inside of my shop. I have a marker board on the top section and various French cleat objects on the bottom, pencil holders, etc., and then a ton of clamps on the back side. Oh, I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting tired. I wanted to pull at least an hour and a half to 2 hours on the stream. And I haven't even done any jointing or ripping on the table saw. I definitely appreciate everybody who's been hanging out with me. I didn't know how many people would join in with it being so late. Playing for my shop once I'm at that point. French ski to everything. Wait, you're bad about what? Did I miss something? And yeah, see, I do need to get a moderator, because I think that somebody was in here trolling earlier, which was pretty weird, actually. My first troll doing the live stream. Definitely a little awkward. I got a few trolls in my normal videos, but. Oh, no, you're perfectly fine for talking up a storm. Again, I have a friend that wants me to come out later tonight. Well, a lady friend wants me to come over later. So I am doing this right now, trying to be productive before I go get distracted, if you would. And I think I've done enough today. I do have a bunch of boards broken down. I did do some jointing. My table saw died on me, so that does put a little bit of a hindrance. I don't have a deadline for this project because I told this client I was currently working on another one at the same time. So, and yeah. Again, might have to get a mod. Might have to get me a mod. Or what I really need is somebody to actually secondarily be here in the shop while I'm in here working, so they can kind of you know, read comments. 'Cause I definitely miss a lot of them when I'm back's turned or tools are running. And yeah, I was doing another project for another client. I'm currently doing a garage build out where I'm building a floor, walls, LVP, and everything else. So I told the door client that I'm building these doors for that I will be able to get these to him and installed roughly after that. So I have about 2.5 weeks. I have a full week this week though to do the build. So my plan is to get everything built this week, next week, go back to the garage, then the week following I can do the install. So I got again 2.5 weeks. I wouldn't ask you to come all the way down here. So wait, what am I doing? 52. That one's going to be the other one at 26. And what I probably can do is to make up for it. If I do 26 out of this one, that'll leave me with 11, which is too short for anything else. But then again, I theoretically could like some be nope, can't do nothing else with that. Alright, yeah, so what I need to do now is lift these really heavy ones over and set this back up to 52. All right. lighting this up. Hope to see you soon. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. I typically post a video on my YouTube channel every day. I also post on my Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, all under New World Carpentry and New World Carpentry Solutions. So anybody who is new here, definitely appreciate you guys again for hanging out. I'm probably going to cut these last two boards and then call it a night. Damn, this is heavy. Here we go. Ouch. Alright, that will do 4, 5 of the bottom rails. That's 5, 7, 9 bottom rails. And then counting for the mid rails, these pieces are all at 52, except for this one up top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 20 rails. There's 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. Oh, then there's 4 more right here at the very bottom. 39, 43, and I was too short because I'm gonna be stealing one from the other one. So, well, that's 43, and then this one right here was gonna be 45. So that's why I'm ripping it in half. But so I don't have to do any glue ups for my bottom rail. What I'll probably do is cut 2 more 26s or 1 more 52 out of this, and then use this for the bottom rail. So I have all the rails cut. I do need to cut 1 more 52, and then that would be all of my stiles and rails broken down to rough manageable pieces before the actual milling, which I'll probably get into tomorrow. I'll probably do another live stream. I really appreciate everybody who's hung out so far, and hope you guys enjoy your night. And if you did, smash that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and then I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Peace.